Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday, and once again the world is in turmoil. Seems like the turmoil will never cease, doesn't it? You wonder why. Why is the world in turmoil? Why? Just seems like the perfect crime, doesn't it? Seems too perfect. The death of Daunte Wright. The death of Daunte Wright recently seems like the perfect crime. Whoever did it totally got away with it. They'll never be prosecuted, never be held accountable, never be tried. And if you do try to prosecute him or try to hold this person accountable, they can just say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. You're far out there. You're out of your mind. You're crazy. When will these crazy conspiracy theorists ever go away, huh? When will they ever go away? Why has there been an uptick in these crimes against civilians? Why has there been an uptick in what they call police brutality, but it's actually, many cases, police overreacting or doing their jobs poorly? Police brutality, why has there been an uptick in it? Why? In particulars of Daunte Wright's case, supposedly the female officer mistook her gun, a Glock, which is quite weighty, for a taser. And I ask you, how is it possible to mistake a Glock for a taser? First of all, a taser is just like a stick. It's just like a stick, like this. It doesn't have a barrel. At least most of them don't. And they wouldn't have a barrel because it would be too easy to mistake the taser for a gun and vice versa. So they wouldn't have a barrel. They wouldn't put a barrel on a taser. She was supposed to keep her gun on her right side and the taser on the left side, on the non-dominant side. And, well, I don't know what handedness she is, but you're supposed to keep the gun on the dominant side and the taser on the non-dominant side. So, how could she mistake a gun for a taser? How is that even possible? Here's an odd thing. She whipped out the gun, and then she said, "I'll tase you. I'll tase you. Taser, taser, taser." She said it 3 times. Taser, taser, taser. Taser, taser, taser. 3 times. And then she shot him. And then after she shot him, she expressed surprise that she had shot him. And this was all caught on her camera, her body cam. Well, you just wonder. You wonder, how could she mistake a gun for a taser? How is that even possible? Or is that even what happened? It's one of 2 possibilities. There's 2 possibilities that make sense to me personally that I can think of. I don't think it was a simple accident. I just don't buy that. I don't buy it. You know me, I'm suspicious, I'm paranoid, and I just don't buy it. I don't buy that it was an accident. So there's only one of 2 possibilities. Either she killed him deliberately and really wanted to kill him and really wanted to commit murder and didn't care what happened to herself afterwards, or she was brainwashed into killing him. So I'll get to that second, but first let's consider the first possibility. So the first possibility is that she had an agenda against him. She didn't need any special agenda. She didn't have to know him personally. By the way, they both went to the same church, And the pastor knew them both. And he felt conflicted because he knew them both personally and they were both his parishioners. He both cared about them. So because he cared about them both, he was really worried that this happened. And there was no proof that she knew him personally, even though they went to the same church and knew the same pastor personally. There was no proof that they knew each other. His only crime, it seems this way, that his only crime was being black when she was white. That seems to be his only crime. Of course, he had a warrant out for his arrest, but his only apparent crime seems to be that he was black. That was what he died for. That's why he died, because he was black and she was white. Okay, we all know that it's really, there's a different weight to these items. Okay, taser is light, a Glock is heavy. The only way you could mistake the two is if somebody messed with your head. Okay, so there's these two weapons, taser and gun. Suppose she was out to get him just because he was black, or reacted because he was black. Like those kids that played that game. College kids. Pushing buttons. Playing a video game where they panic when they see a black face. Even a 6-year-old's black face. So, they panic, and then they pull the trigger, supposedly. Could have been that sort of a situation, but we all know that when she shouted, taser, 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 like she was trying to convince a jury that she really thought it was a taser, right? Suppose she was trying to convince a jury that, or the potential future jury, that it was really just a taser, that she thought it was a taser, and then pretended to be surprised just so she could get away with murder. We all know that if that's the case, she was just out big game hunting. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not implying anything about black folk at all. But you know it's true. What's the ultimate prize? What's the ultimate trophy to take home? Human life, right? That's the ultimate, to hunt humans, to hunt human beings. So who's that's totally demented and totally sick in the head wouldn't want to kill a person if they had a chance? Why do you think people go to war? It's for the chance to kill human beings. It's the ultimate thrill, the ultimate rush for somebody who's a hunter at heart, to actually kill a human being, unless they actually have a conscience and have a good heart. So if they're bad-hearted, it's like big game hunting. The ultimate trophy, to kill a human being. What a rush. That's why people try to bump you off the edge of their bumpers. See this all the time. People are out driving, and they're probably drunk. They see you crossing the street, and they speed up, and they don't slow down, and they don't stop, and they will hit you. They will bump you with their bumper and send you skidding, and then they'll run over you. And it's just a snap-second decision, but it's just for the thrills. And they know they can get away with it because they can drive away. They know they can drive away. So, if people can drive away, get away with it, why wouldn't they? Same thing here. If you can shoot somebody and get away with it, what a rush, what a thrill. But I'm not saying I feel this way. I don't feel this way at all. I'm telling you what the mindset is. You have to look into the mind of the criminal. You have to look into their mind. You have to see what's in their mind and figure out what's inside of them. It's in their hearts. You could see that there's evil in their hearts. And it's the ultimate prize, is to kill a human being. That's the ultimate trophy. The ultimate bragging rights. I killed a real live human being. I killed a person. Right. The ultimate trophy. It's big game hunting. That's one possibility. But think about this. Think about the uptick in these cases of police brutality against black people. And it's always black people. It's always the perpetrator is usually white. Usually. And they're usually cops. Okay, so there's been this uptick. What has caused this uptick in white on black crimes committed by cops against suspects? And just to go into this, Wright was wanted for illegal possession of a firearm because he had a gun when he was under 18, which is illegal. And so there was already a warrant out for his arrest for holding a gun when he was under 18 without a license. And they're not allowed to own handguns at all. They're just not allowed to own handguns if they're under 18. So he had a handgun, so they prosecuted him. They didn't prosecute him. They had a warrant out for his arrest for that. And also he owned some marijuana. He was in possession of some marijuana. And he had an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. Big whoop. Yeah, so I'm going to kill you over some air freshener. Right. And also they claimed his license plate tags were expired. And that's why they pulled him over, supposedly. We don't know if that hasn't been established yet as a fact. That's just the excuse they gave for pulling him over in the first place. So he died for air freshener, or the warrant. That's why they killed him, because he had a gun to defend himself, which he probably needed, but wasn't allowed to have because of strict gun laws. Strict gun laws, strict drug laws. That's why he died. So let's consider the second possibility. Possibility number 2. How convenient is this uptick in these crimes against black people, where they use a gun instead of a taser, where they put a knee on somebody's neck, where they shoot somebody in the back 20 times, or they chase them and shoot at them shoot them in the back while they're running away. All of these things have happened recently, all at once. Or like Breonna Taylor killed by a stray bullet when they broke into her apartment in the middle of the night. Well, it was a no-knock warrant. They claimed they knocked, but nobody heard them knock. And so what can we take away from all this? What is the take home or the takeaway? Well, this is a massive uptick. A massive uptick. What would cause such a massive uptick? Well, you could say, the thing that happened with George Floyd triggered something in the minds of these white people and made them predatory. That is a possibility, but what I think is a better possibility is that these crimes against humanity were very, very useful to the elites. Have you noticed that? How useful it's been to the elites? Because they have Black Lives Matter in their back pocket. They can eliminate all of these small businesses at once. They can eliminate all of their competition. All their competition. After Daunte Wright was killed, there were riots in Brooklyn Center. They totally devastated a T-Mobile store, a Foot Locker, and one other place. That was just the first night. They're still rioting right now, even as I speak. And there was a curfew, and there was a child abduction. I don't even know if that's related. There was a child abduction, probably another carjacking. And the murder rate has tripled in Minneapolis. It's tripled in the Twin Cities. That was ever since the police were defunded. All of these things are very useful to the elites because they're destroying their enemies. They can destroy anyone they want, but their enemies apparently are African American. And it's an ugly thing. It's so ugly. And love African American people, don't want to see them hurt. So what can we take away from these riots, this devastation, this concentration of wealth with Amazon and these big names in business for themselves, eliminating the little guy just overnight, devastating them, using the madding crowds and Black Lives Matter to stir them up and get people hating each other, hating small businesses which had nothing to do with it. Once again, they got the wrong suspect. They got the wrong guy or gal. They got the wrong gal. It was this female cop. Who do they punish? They punish the small businesses. They had nothing to do with it at all. Because it's the system. It's their philosophy. It's the system. So their philosophy is it's the system. So anything that's a part of the system, including small businesses, has to be destroyed because it's the system. They even had a sign that said that the damn system is guilty as hell. That was on somebody's sign. The damn system is guilty as hell. It's the system. See, it's this grand unified theory that everything is a racist, this critical race theory. Critical race theory is what it's called. And critical race theory says that the system is racist. So anything that's a part of the system, including small businesses, has to go. But as individuals, they had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Your house is part of the system. Why don't we go destroy your house? We'll come to where you live. Destroy your house because you're a part of the system. You see how ludicrous that is? You don't want your house destroyed, so why would you want to destroy somebody else's small business, huh? How is that being part of the system if you're a small business? No, you're a job maker. You're providing jobs for people. And now their jobs are gone because your business has been destroyed. Does that seem fair? To blame the wrong person? To blame the wrong suspect? So this new philosophy, this critical race theory, has been a plot for years on the part of the elites. They plotted it and they planned it ahead. They planted their professors at Harvard and Stanford and other universities. They planted their professors there and taught this critical race theory so that it was just all a prelude to these riots so they could eliminate small businesses their competition. So they would get all the business for themselves. That's all they wanted. They wanted all the business for themselves. They wanted to also eliminate, they want to devastate the inner city and make black people very poor, and they want to make black people very dependent upon government assistance. So that they can cement this military-industrial government complex. That's what it used to be called, military-industrial government complex. Government was part of it. And this military-industrial government complex has so much power and control over people's lives. People become dependent on them for livelihood and for living, for money. They're totally dependent on this military industrial government complex. And as long as they're dependent, as long as these guys are powerful, big names, very powerful people in positions of total power and control, can pull the puppet strings and manipulate, control everybody else. So they have the most motive, don't they, to destroy their competition, to cement the power of Amazon as the government store? Don't they have the most motive? Doesn't Amazon have the most motive to keep these riots going and going and going? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Amazon has a motive. These big names have a motive. Jeff Bezos has a motive. He may not be the CEO. He still owns a lot of stock. Sorry about that, folks. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, they've got so much motive. They've got so much motive. And how could they affect these riots? How could they keep them going? Like, while the Derek Chauvin trial is going on, how can we start a new riot right then? Right when people are angriest, thinking about Derek Chauvin and thinking about George Floyd. How can we start a riot? Oh, we'll just mess with somebody's mind. And they're good at it. Oh boy, are they good at it. Suppose somebody took this female police officer aside in the middle of the night, whispered in her ear, "Your gun is a taser. Your gun is a taser. Your gun is a taser." Or better yet, what if they had taken her when she was like 3 years old, molested her, and while they were molesting her and abusing her, they told her, "Your gun is a taser. Your gun is a taser. Your gun is a taser. Now when I say snap, you will pull your gun and it will become a taser. You'll use your taser gun and kill on command." So they come to her 23 years later, and while she's just on the street, they go, snap. Something in her head says, "Aha, it's time to kill." So then she goes and says, "Taser, taser, taser," pulls out her gun and shoots somebody. Dead. That's how it works, folks. It may seem far-fetched, but it's doable. It's doable, and if it's doable, why wouldn't it exist? Why wouldn't it happen? And it may have happened in all of these cases. These may have been all pre-planned years and years and years in advance. Then all they have to do when the time comes is just pick a victim, right? Just pick a victim. Makes me mad. Makes me mad considering my history. And watch A Story of Racism. Watch that video. It's one of my videos. Watch A Story of Racism. You'll see how I feel about this. Where I witnessed a murder of a black woman. And was accused of it by my father. He wanted to make me into one of these officer hit people. That's what he was hoping, but I escaped from him. I got away by telling somebody the truth about what was happening. Even though he gave me drugs, I was able to break through my consciousness enough for me to tell somebody what was going on. He got clumsy, he got sloppy, and he didn't always give me the drugs. And somehow, some way, I was able to remember the abuse. And I remember it to this very day. I was able to remember the abuse and report it to someone and got away from him. But this is something he did to me right before I told someone. It was like maybe the month before, or maybe a couple months before, and I was able to get him stopped. So I know that they're messing with kids' heads. I know they did it way back when so that they would have a steady stream of assassins. But they couldn't think of anything to do with these assassins. They had a bunch of assassins on their hands. They're like, oh, we've got nobody to kill. Who would we want to kill? But the elites had a use for these assassins. They could just assassinate ordinary people and stir racial strife. Not racial hatred, but racial strife. Because it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And I won't say it's a war, because some people think about race wars. They're obsessed with race wars. It's not a war. It's a struggle. And these elites can use these assassins to stir unrest. And they can use it to their advantages. These elites can use this unrest. This unrest can be used to destroy small businesses, to put the big businesses on top. So just don't even give your business to these big businesses. Give your business exclusively to small businesses. A lot of these small businesses are going online now because they have no choice. So give them your business. Whenever you have a big purchase to make it online. If you have a small purchase, go to your local store. Even if you have to go way out to go to a store, that's a small business. Because, let's face it, a lot of these businesses are failing. I'm not saying all small business owners are saints. I personally know a small business owner who's a total creep. So small business owners can be creeps, but you don't know that they're creeps unless you've gone to their store and experienced it directly. So I would shop around. Get used to the people, get to know the owners, get to see whether they're good people or not, whether they're good-hearted people. Give your business to good-hearted small business owners. Get to know them. Establish rapport with them. Don't give any more business to these big monsters, these big giants. Because they don't care about you. They don't care about anyone. They're committing murder to get their way. Yeah, it's not just hating the black family anymore. It's actually drifted into murder. That's my opinion. That's the way I see it. You may say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. You're too extreme. You're dangerous. You're crazy. This never happened. This isn't true. I don't believe it. From my perspective, from my point of view, you're just being naive. There's way too many naive little girls and boys out there. Just letting this go on, letting this happen. If you refused to give in and refused to riot and refused to participate at all in the elite's plan, then we could foil the elites. We could foil them and we could nip them in the bud. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to prove that they've done this to these kids? That they're mind control slaves and deprogram all their programming? For me, the programming was 70 times 7, but they probably used something different for each child. Since my father is very into the Bible, that's what he wanted to use. But it could be different for every child. Could be a different trigger. You just have to know the answers to these crazy questions when they're asked of you. And They will ask the question, because they think that if you do unravel the programming, that you're going to lose it. They think you're going to be so weak, or that the subject is so weak that they'll have a meltdown, they'll kill themselves, and they'll never recover. That just isn't true. That isn't true. Abuse survivors are incredibly strong people, and we're not going to crumble if you unravel our programming. So I would recommend that. I would recommend exploring and unraveling the programming. Go after all of these killers. Go after Derek Chauvin and this female cop and all the other police that shot. Find out if they have programming. I know it's incredibly difficult because they make very good subjects. They don't make bad subjects like me. They make very good subjects, but find out if they have all this programming. That's what I recommend. I made a bad subject. I was one of their failures, but it's a success for me. I'm a success because I was one of their failures. I did not pass the test, so they rejected me. And they're sad now, because now the rejects are coming after them. And you may say, well, QAnon is evil, QAnon is a conspiracy theory, QAnon is so bad. Yeah, have a heart, they're abuse victims. Do you have zero charity toward abuse victims? Do you not care about abuse victims or what they've suffered? Why do you refuse to believe their stories? I just don't know. I don't know why. Abuse victim stories, they refuse to believe them. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Why would they refuse to believe victims of a violent crime, sexual abuse, and sex torture, mental torture is a violent crime. And it has many victims. So, try to unravel this programming if you can. Let's build a case. Let's build a case against the elites. Prove that all of this was pre-planned by them years and years before, that it's premeditated murder on a massive scale. How many victims have they claimed so far? Makes me, oh my gosh, my whole head is numb. Head is numb just thinking about it. It's crazy. It's just craziness. Find out how many victims they have. Find out what they did to them, and how they made their victims into perpetrators. How they made them into unwitting assassins that would commit any crime for them. They found a use for those assassins. They always do. They always find use for assassins. They also have sex trafficking. Yeah, they have sex slaves working for them. Sex trafficking, sex slaves, celebrities. They have celebrities working for them. And the celebrities are also, incidentally, sex slaves. So, and there's public figures, too, that they have under their control, under mind control. Suspect Biden could be a mind control slave. I just do. Just think the Biden might be a mind control slave because he's so mechanical. You think, wow, what a great guy. Yeah, but he's a little too great. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by Biden is a little too great? Because he's too perfect. He's too perfect. He's flawless. He's a flawless man. He says awful things. He says terrible things. But it's all things the elites want him to say. He's too perfect. He never has a moment. He never has a moment where he's not right on cue flawless performance, flawless man. That could only be the result of years and years of mental programming, right? Not human. He is human, but his human part has been suppressed. His human part has been suppressed so he can be a walking, talking, feel-good pillow. He's not. I mean, you could tell, okay, Trump, something wrong with Trump, okay? But he was a real human being. He had lots of flaws. You could tell he was real. Something unreal about Biden. I don't like it. Something unreal about him. I think he's a mind control slave himself. And if we actually have our first president who's a mind control slave, that's incredibly dangerous. That's incredibly dangerous. I wouldn't want to have a mind control slave as my president. I can tell there's something different about Biden. He's different from all the other presidents. He's different. Biden could be under mind control. And so, try to fight against mind control however you can. Don't let your kids become victims of mind control. Don't let them be alone for any amount of time with somebody who could be an abuser or a programmer. Just don't leave them alone with somebody that could hurt them. And you think you're a victim of mind control, try to deprogram yourself. Can't trust these deprogrammers. Can't trust deprogrammers because deprogrammers use psychological abuse to achieve their ends. Deprogrammers use sex abuse to achieve their ends. They will rape their subjects. You can unravel your own programming if you have any. Tell you how I unraveled my programming, but I don't recommend it to anyone. I don't recommend this, folks. I really don't. It's not a good idea at all. But I opened my third eye and basically for all purposes achieved what you would call enlightenment. I achieved enlightenment. By achieving enlightenment, I was able to open doors in my brain that had been set for years that were meant to stay closed forever. And I opened them all up by achieving enlightenment. I just opened my brain just like a can of sardines that just got rolled back. And I don't recommend this to anyone because of the very severe side effect. I became like a schizophrenic. And even to this day, I still hear my father's voice. I can hear all the programming. It's all come out. And found out as a result of abuse that I had an altar. And this altar tries to mislead me however or whenever it can. Kind of scary. It's not anything light to mess with. It's only if you want to unravel your own programming so you don't go nuts and kill somebody sometime. Could happen. You might mistake your gun for a taser sometime. You don't want to let that happen, so you want to unravel your programming if you have any. And I strongly recommend that you do. If you think that, if you have any memories of abuse, any at all, I would suspect programming. I would. Don't let them get away with it. Please don't let these elites get away with programming you. So that's it. Daunte Wright, dead today. A victim of a white woman, and we don't know if she was programmed or not to do this. Wouldn't it be wonderful to expose all of this? To be able to prove even in a court of law that this programming has gone on and will continue to go on, and that civilians, innocent civilians who happen to be African American, are being targeted, and that our government is behind all of it. Wouldn't that be great to expose that? And I'll see you next time.